Do you remember the feeling of watching Rambo? First blood for the first time? The tired eyes of a Vietnam veteran, the invisible wounds of war, and the heavy burden he carried on his shoulders. This isn't just an action film. It's a story of loneliness and alienation. John Rambo, a man who gave everything for his country, returns home to find no welcome, only prejudice and an endless, silent haunting. His clash with Sheriff Will Teasel, an authoritarian and prejudiced man, was an explosion waiting to happen. It was a confrontation, not just between two individuals, but between an entire small town and a lone man. A man who was trained to be the perfect killing machine. The only person who could prevent the tragedy was Colonel Sam Troutman, Rambo's mentor and spiritual father. First Blood doesn't just showcase tense action sequences. It also exposes the mental anguish of a veteran abandoned by society. This blend of violence and tragedy made the film a cultural shock at the time of its release. And what if I told you that behind the smoke and fire, this movie was originally supposed to have a very different and much darker ending? That's just one of countless astonishing secrets behind the scenes. Join me as we uncover the strangest and most shocking truths about First Blood, the movie that turned Rambo into an immortal legend. Fact 20. The battle to get the film made. Before it became a blockbuster, First Blood was almost an unredeemable disaster. And the project had been languishing for over a decade, with numerous studios passing on the script. Many actors were offered the role of Rambo, including Robert De Niro, Clint Eastwood, and Al Pacino. But they all turned it down. Al Pacino reportedly wanted to make Rambo a manic character, a concept the producers rejected. It wasn't until Sylvester Stallone, fresh off the success of Rocky, expressed interest that the project finally gained momentum. Stallone saw Rambo not as a cold-blooded killer, but as a traumatized veteran, a victim of circumstance, and he was determined to bring that vision to the screen. Fact 19. The cliff jump that broke Stallone's bones. In the deep forests of British Columbia, the film crew prepared for one of the most dangerous scenes. Rambo being chased by his pursuers, desperately leaping from a sheer cliff. Everyone assumed a stuntman would do it, but Stallone flatly refused. He declared, "If Rambo has to be in pain, then I have to go through that pain too." The camera rolled, and Stallone's body plunged headfirst, colliding with branches repeatedly before hitting the ground hard. The impact was so strong that it fractured several of his ribs, leaving him in so much pain he could barely breathe. Yet, he gritted his teeth, endured the pain, and continued filming, making the scene one of the most authentic moments in the movie. On screen, Rambo's ragged breathing and pained face are Stallone's real agony, without a single bit of pretense. Fact 18. The punch that broke a stuntman's nose. Another accident left a permanent mark on the film. In the scene where Rambo explodes at the police station, the camera captures every chaotic, violent move. But one punch went beyond the boundaries of acting. Stallone, in the fury of his character, threw a blow so hard it broke the nose of the stuntman opposite him. The scream of pain was immediate. It was not a fake cry for the film, but the instinctive reaction of a real person being struck down. Instead of cutting it, the film crew decided to keep the moment. It was so real, so intense, that it made the entire sequence burst with energy. After the scene was done, Stallone was horrified and apologized while the stuntman holding his bloody nose just laughed. That moment became part of the legend, contributing to the film's status as an unparalleled masterpiece. Fact 17. The original Rambo was a cold-blooded killer. The image of Rambo in the film is that of a wounded veteran, a survivor abandoned by society but still humane. However, in David Morrell's novel, First Blood, the character is completely different. The Rambo of the book is a cold, emotionless killing machine, mercilessly murdering police officers, soldiers, and even innocent civilians. Stallone and the film's producers consciously decided to humanize the character, making him a reluctant warrior who only kills one person in the entire film, and that is in self-defense. This change was crucial in making Rambo a tragic hero rather than a psychopath. Facts 16. The role of Colonel Troutman changed hands at the last minute. Can you imagine how Rambo's image on screen would have changed if Colonel Sam Troutman had not been Richard Crenna, but a completely different face? The name originally chosen was Hollywood legend Kirk Douglas. With his long career, Douglas had the gravitas to be Rambo's spiritual father. But problems arose when he wanted to control all the dialogue, and especially the ending. Douglas believed Troutman had to be the one to shoot and kill Rambo, maintaining the tragic spirit of the novel. Stallone and the crew vehemently objected, believing that for Rambo to become an icon, the character could not die in the very first film. The tension escalated to the point that Douglas withdrew just a few days before filming started. In the chaos, Richard Crenna was called in as a last-minute replacement, with almost no time to prepare. With his calm, dignified, yet compassionate demeanor, Crenna embodied Colonel Troutman in a way that audiences could never forget. It was a last-minute change that became the perfect choice, leading the entire film in a different direction. Fact 15. A real-life weapons heist occurred on set, right in the middle of filming in the town of Hope, British Columbia. A real-life incident occurred that shocked everyone. A truck full of prop weapons, from machine guns and rifles to handguns, was broken into and completely emptied by thieves. The total value of the stolen goods was estimated at $50,000, a massive sum for the film crew at the time. The most frightening part? The weapons were supposed to be guarded by real soldiers, yet the thieves succeeded, turning the entire movie set into a real-life crime scene. In an instant, the fictional action set became a real security hotspot. The police launched an investigation, and the film crew panicked over the risk of the entire project being shut down. To salvage the situation, the Canadian military was deployed to guard the remaining weapons, turning the movie set into a real military barracks. Stallone later admitted that the prop storage might have been more heavily guarded than a small military base. Fact 14. The 3-hour rough cut that made Stallone want to bury the film. Few would have guessed that before becoming an action masterpiece, First Blood was almost an unredeemable disaster. The first cut ran for more than 3 hours, so tedious and messy that no one could even recognize the story of a heroic veteran. The pacing was inconsistent, the dialogue was long-winded, and many scenes were repeated, leaving the internal audience feeling exhausted. Sylvester Stallone, who had staked his career on the role of Rambo, bitterly said he wanted to buy back all the rights just to prevent the movie from being released. In his eyes, First Blood was turning from his greatest hope into a dangerous joke for his career. But instead of giving up, Stallone chose to lock himself in the editing room. He patiently worked with the editor to fine-tune every frame, aggressively cutting dozens of minutes of redundant scenes, removing cumbersome dialogue, and re-establishing the entire rhythm. The result was a film that was less than 100 minutes long, tight, tense, and full of energy. Fact 13. Rambo's iconic knife was a custom creation. The knife Rambo used wasn't just a prop, it was a character in itself. The knife was a custom design by master knife maker Jimmy Lyle, specifically created for the film. It was a massive, intimidating tool with a hollow handle containing a survival kit. Lyle himself was known as the Arkansas knifesmith, and his collaboration with Stallone resulted in a weapon that became as iconic as Rambo himself. The knife's sheer size and unique design not only added to the character's rugged image, but also made it a must-have for movie enthusiasts, spawning a new market for survival knives. Fact 12. Rambo is based on a real person. Author David Morrell has said that the character of John Rambo was inspired by a real-life war hero, Audie Murphy. Murphy was one of the most decorated American combat soldiers of World War II. After the war, he suffered from what is now known as PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, and struggled to reintegrate into civilian life. Murphy's post-war struggles with civilian life and his own inner demons served as a key inspiration for Rambo's character, highlighting the psychological toll that war takes on a person. Fact 11. The movie was filmed in a real prison. The scene where Rambo is captured and taken to the police station was filmed at a real prison, the Hope Detention Center. What's more, many of the guards and officers in the film were real-life officers. This added a layer of realism and authenticity to the scene that would have been impossible to replicate on a soundstage. The cold, sterile environment of the real prison contributed to the feeling of isolation and hopelessness that Rambo was experiencing, making the audience feel his fear and despair as he was about to be brutalized.